welcome to Galaxy Universal Network. We're here at the Palestinian Embassy to South Africa. You're watching 15 Minutes in Palestine, and I'm not alone, of course. I'm with the beautiful Miss Bongeka Boyana and Nozibele Kyalana.
Indeed, it is going to be an exciting episode. We're going to be giving an exclusive interview by the effervescent Sisanda Qwabe-Coutaud. Bongeka, what more do we have?
Thank you so much, Nozibele. Her Excellency Ms. Hanan Jara will be giving us more insightful views on the matters of Palestine. Please stay with us.
Good day, Africa. It is me, myself, and I, of course. Sisanda Qwabe-Coutaud. Ntombazane yaphansi komhlaba yalengana umfule ngophuzana kuzukelekela inkomo zake zingeshiya zilaphansi emahlathini asekubandeni. Kanti ke zona siphuze ebhodweni umfule ohamba ngeslomotion kwesikwazile isigodi kula ngibuya khona ke. We are here at the Embassy of the Palestine to the Republic of South Africa. We are having a very exclusive interview, a good conversation to just take you to the people of the Palestine and, of course, bring the people of Palestine to the beautiful continent of Africa, giving you more insights on what is happening on the other side of the world. And we can hear noises and a lot of people talking about Palestine. With me right here, I am joined by Her Excellency, the one and only gorgeous Ambassador of Palestine to South Africa, Madam Hanan Jara. Good morning and warm welcome to Galaxy Universal Network. Thank you so much for offering us this audience.
Well, it's my pleasure always, Sisanda, as you know, and thank you for the Galaxy TV for this opportunity. And we really feel as Palestinians and the Embassy of the State of Palestine here in South Africa so much honored and privileged to have such an unwavering support in this country, which opens to us also the doors for the whole African continent.
No, indeed, it's our pleasure. We're really honored to have this opportunity to, of course, keep on getting to inform people about the people of Palestine. But without wasting much of the time, of course, Your Excellency, when we look into, the history, especially on what has recently happened, is that we can see that a lot of Israelis have taken control of the entire east part of Jerusalem. And, a lot of Palestinians, right, they find it quite distasteful. How is that, coming across to you as Palestinians? Are you able to handle the entire pressure that is being put in by the people of Israel?
Well, actually, let's start from the beginning, since we are giving the people a view of what has been happening and what is now happening.
Yes.
So to bring the long story short, we shall start by the history. And Palestine has been in existence since long time ago, even before the British mandate to Palestine, which was between the years 1917 till 1948. Palestine has been existing under the Ottoman Empire. So the British mandate came and they announced Palestine as a Class A mandate, which means that Palestine as a state was existing at that time, and it needs some assistance from the great power Britain at that time
of course,
to become a state. Then what happened in 1948 is that the Israelis came and occupied 70-80% of mandatory Palestine. And at that time, the other 22% of Palestine, which comprises East Jerusalem, West Bank, and the Gaza Strip, remained under the Jordanian control at that time. But as you know, Israel is an occupying power, and the mindset is a colonial one. So they will not stop on occupying only the lands of Palestine of 1948. They continue and occupy the rest of the Palestinian territory, which means that 22% left for Palestinians, which includes at that time the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip. And the status of Jerusalem, because it's a holy state and it's a holy place, and because of we claim it as the capital of the state of Palestine, remains under the international law as a corpus separatum, which means it should not refer to Israel nor to Jordan, but the final status of East Jerusalem will be undetermined until direct negotiations between the Israelis and Palestinians take place and determine the final status of Jerusalem.
Quite very informative, Your Excellency. I just want to tap into one of the questions that you have raised earlier on, or rather the statement that you mentioned, that this dates back from 1948. Now, when we're looking into that, of course, it seems as if like the Israelis, they totally disregard all the rules and regulations that were put in, all the legislative measures that were put in place in order to create maybe a conducive environment for both Israelis and the Palestinians to live in a so-called harmony, if we could say that. These seem like it just doesn't exist. Is there anything at all that is being done either by the outside world or the in terms of looking straight and direct into the matters of the people of Israel, that they are disregarding the laws and regulations that were put in place? Of course, we are seeing the likes of your U.S. president backing the people of Israel, which obviously shows that they do not take into consideration their rights and, of course, everything that belongs to the people of the Palestine. So is there any other form of a body or an organization or whoever else out there or any other country, of course, except South Africa, that we are just talking and say, free the people of Palestine, assist the people of Palestine, be there. But are there any things that are being done physically, putting the laws down and say, this shouldn't happen, this must happen, or it's all just talk and no action?
Let's start recently in 1993 when we engaged in direct negotiations with Israel as the Palestine Liberation Organization, which is the sole representative for the Palestinian people, which has been in relation with the ANC at that time as a liberation movement. We engaged in direct negotiations with Israel, of course, not because we wanted to,
yes,
not because we want to compromise the 70-80% of the occupied Palestine
yes,
in 1948,
yes,
but because the international community, we can find, we could at that time find the right momentum where the international community has the needed political will to sit together and to support Palestinians in their demand to having
yes,
their
yes,
sovereign state on their land. Of course, the land means West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza Strip. These were the areas that were compose the state of the lands of the state of Palestine,
yes,
according to the international law and according to the borders of 1967,
yes,
with East Jerusalem as a capital. We engaged in this. When we engaged in such negotiations, the international community supported both Palestinians to have their inalienable rights, and supported also the Israelis because it is rarely that at that moment to find an Israeli leader who really has the will to engage in these negotiations with the Palestinians. And after a while, Rabin was assassinated because the mentality of the Israeli people is not ready. And unfortunately, since his assassination up till now, we couldn't find an Israeli leader who really wants peace. All what we find is Netanyahu, and Netanyahu was systematically silencing every voice in Israel that might have a tendency towards peace and towards sitting with the Palestinians and engage again in direct negotiations.
yes,
When we signed this agreement of peace, it was, what is the Oslo Accord? It's not it is a permanent agreement that
yes,
should last only for 5 years. And it was designed to move the Palestinian agreement or to move the status quo of the Palestinian
yes,
state into a reality, into a kind of a state that that should live in peace and security with
yes,
its neighbors. Unfortunately, and after 5 years of direct negotiations between the two parties, we stopped at 5 main issues that the Israelis wouldn't want to continue negotiating about, like borders. It's impossible to have a state without borders.
of course,
Especially that our borders were secured by the international law and by the Oslo Accord that has the agreement and the acknowledgement of the international community at that time. Palestinian prisoners. We have around 6,000 Palestinians still in the Israeli jails. Water and water resources, refugees. Of course, as I told you, or as I mentioned before, when the Israeli forces occupied Palestine in 1948,
Yes.
they uprooted 700,000 Palestinians, and those people were scattered all over the world in refuge. Now we have around 7 million Palestinians scattered all over the world and should enjoy the right of return to their homeland, because they have been uprooted from their homeland without any justice or right to do so.
Now let's move into this, other very important question that we would want to discuss. I mean, the history between the Israelites and the Palestinians have always been the major stumbling block between these two, in order for you to get into maybe an amicable way where you could settle in some terms of having some arguments, because you will find the Palestinians that you still haven't taken an acknowledgement that you're invading us, and the Israelites are saying no, that the land is given to us by God or whoever they claim gave them the land. It's still that issue. What is your take in this? Is there hope that one day you might find yourself sitting down together and getting into an amicable solution that might seem quite very impossible at the moment?
Not alone. We were always backed by the international community, because they, at the first place, they were the guarantee, let's say, for the peace accord that we signed. But unfortunately, what the international community can do, rather than requesting and demanding Israel to stop its practices and its procedures as an occupying power again in the land of Palestine. There has been, let's say, hundreds of UN resolutions. One major important resolution was taken lately at the last maybe week of the Obama administration, which is called UN Security Council Resolution 2334 on the Israeli settlements.
Yes.
That prohibited the Israeli settlements from, that prohibited the Israeli construction of settlements inside the Palestinian land that is designed originally for the Palestinian state. So we're not left alone, but unfortunately the international community is not able, let's say, because there is a will, but it's not able to do anything for Israel as an occupying power. And recently, unfortunately, Israel is backed up by the Trump's administration, and it went far in its practices against Palestinians, like announcing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, announcing their plan to annex around 60% of the Palestinian land to the Israelis because of the settlements, and so on and so forth. So we do believe as Palestinians that we are supported by the international community, and we are supported also by the UN General Assembly, which compromises the entire international community as a whole, but still rhetoric statements and not real and concrete action. I do believe that our President Mahmoud Abbas announced in his speech in the General Assembly last September that we are calling the international community for another peace conference to be taking place by the beginning of next year, so that maybe to encourage the international community to fill the gap that the US has left by being and by choosing to be on the wrong side of history with the Israelis with total neglect of the Palestinian rights.
Now, on the lighter note, of course, if you could give us a little bit of details on what is the attitude of the Arabs towards, the Africans, given the fact that, we've got all these differences, linguistic differences, cultural differences. I'm quite very sure what's your attitude towards people of my brown skin already. I know you love us for sure. But now with the overall of people in the Palestine, maybe we as Africans, when we go to maybe to the Palestine, would we feel otherwise, or what? Give us a lay down. I'm me, so that when I go there, I bring my tissue for crying in case they tell me something, or I need to come there with all smiles and just ready. What should I expect when I get to the Palestine?
Quite impressive to receive such a question. Actually, I didn't thought about it, but something that I can assure you is that you will be very happy in Palestine, and everything will go to your satisfaction, because by nature we are a peace-loving nation. We also are open to other cultures and to other colors. We don't differentiate people according to sex, gender, color or ethnicity, because we suffered from the Israeli occupation, and we suffer from racial segregation.
Yes.
And when you live under suffering, you can appreciate people around you, especially if they are friends and brothers and sisters like you, because Palestinians look at the Africans, especially the South Africans, as a beacon of hope, because you have been in our shoes before. Have been subjected to apartheid practices and the apartheid regime, and you gained your liberty and freedom. So we look at you as our people in the other continent that we look to one day maybe reach what you have
achieved so far.
Yes,
yeah.
and Palestinians in general has so much to offer when it comes to people visiting them or coming to them.
Yeah.
And because of the suffering, and because Palestine has been open always for foreigners and activists also to come and visit, we show them the most welcoming, because no one would come to Palestine for no reason, only because he believes in the cause and he wants to show solidarity with Palestinians.
Yes.
So no, we are open, and we welcome everyone, especially our brothers from the African continent, and there is no better example of this rather than what South Africa has always offering the Palestinians. And the relation between South Africa and Palestine is not new, and it did not started only by the political bilateral relations in 1994. It started long time ago when the Palestine Liberation Organization in the 60s overall what it had to support the ANC in their struggle against apartheid and against oppression.
Yes.
So no worries, you are most welcome, you and the team, and the Palestinians are really always opening their house and their hearts for others.
Oh wow, we're looking forward to that. Your Excellency, what a beautiful and a very insightful conversation that we've just had. Just in closing, of course, we can calculate or make mention of a number of big people, I mean, the likes of your former President Nelson Mandela, your former President Barack Obama, that have stood side by side by Arafat to show the support for the people of Palestine. Maybe if we were to continue to bring that call to other leaders, maybe of African descent for that matter, we are broadcasting, of course, in the entire African continent. What would be your message of maybe invitation to support the people of Palestine?
Well, my call to all African countries and African nations and people who has been experiencing the colonization and the oppression is to stand by the people of Palestine and to stand by the just cause of the Palestinians, because we are a human being.
Yes.
And we have the right to live in peace and security like all other nations. This is our request. It's very simple, very easy. And our cause is not only a humanitarian cause, not at all. It's a political cause. And it needs to be resolved on a political basis. And if the Africans have been watching the news, the Middle East, the whole Middle East, the whole area is destabilizing because of the Palestinian issue, as because of the Palestinian cause. So we need your support in backing the Palestinian people to reach to their goals, which an independent state. Unfortunately, lately we saw some of the African countries goes in relation with Israel, like for example Malawi, and we're so much disappointed to hear the news that Malawi is going to open a diplomatic mission in Jerusalem. I mean, the people of Malawi should understand the plight of the Palestinians.
Of course.
And should understand that Jerusalem is a sacred place for Palestinians and for Muslims all over the world. And such an action is really hurting the relations between the two countries. We hope that the African countries continue supporting Palestine until we reach to full liberation and we have our own sovereign, independent state.
Ambassador, it's always a great honor to host you all the time. And of course, we're looking forward to the next conversation where we are going to definitely take people to Palestine while they're sitting right here in the African continent. At the very same time, bringing the people of Palestine to our beautiful continent in Africa. As your call you have made, we would like to reiterate it once more to say that the Palestinians, they need you and me to support them in their fight against the apartheid regime that is continuing to ripple that country. They need you and me to continue supporting them in their political battle to claim their land back. If not, at least their freedom. If you are with us right here on Galaxy Universal Network, please do catch us once again next week, right here on 15 Minutes in Palestine. Igama lami nginguSisanda Qwabe-Coutaud. Ntombazane yaphansi ke kwamhlabi yalingana umfule ngophuza mphuzukele inkomo zakhe singeshiya zidla phansi emahlathini asekubandeni. Kanti ke zona ziphuze ebhodlweni umfule ohamba ngeslow motion. Kwesikazela isigodi la ngibuya khona ke emathongeni kwesenkosi ke uMaputu. La ngathola amabomba ami mabhekise egoli bantombazane yaduma. Kwanyama kayipheli phela amazinga endoda. We are giving you true stories, zero fiction and zero favor, right here on Galaxy Universal Network.